Thank you. Right, so I have to admit that I'm a little nervous, but that slow clap, it's getting me going. Are you wearing protection? That's the first thing that my mom told me when I came out to her. Are you wearing protection? She didn't give me a religious rant or rebuke or what are we going to tell our friends and family speech. She was concerned about my health. She was concerned if I was wearing condoms. And that is emblematic of who my mom is. She's a caretaker. She thinks about these things in moments of crisis, in moments of chaos. Years after, though, she confessed something to me. She said, I've been going to therapy for a long time, not because you're gay, but because I was ashamed that I couldn't embrace you right away. Again, incredible for someone to be so thoughtful and self-reflecting about my journey, about my story. She said, you're perfect. Your hang-ups, my hang-ups, are not your burden. I'm sorry, she says. Meanwhile, I've been feeling extremely supported by her in my coming out process. I introduced her to my boyfriend. I had her sit through this awkward but funny meal with his mom and didn't speak the same language. But this is my mom. This is the beautiful person that I call my mother. Unfortunately, my coming out story with my father was not the same. It was rather traumatic. My father is a man who didn't finish high school, someone who hasn't been exposed to the world and doesn't know any gay people. Well, now he knows me. And so I was really scared to come out to him. I was really concerned about what would happen to me. My relationship with him was transformed by two events. The first one was his separation from my mother. They separated when she discovered that he'd been cheating on her for 14 years at that time. And I resented him for that. And the second event was our moving to the States. My mom and I moved to the States in 2002, and I didn't hear from him for years. And I resented him even more because of that. But every time I would go back home for holidays, for Christmas or summer, my mom would encourage me to meet up with him, to try to rekindle our relationship. And against my will, I did it. It was the winter of 2011, and I was resolute that I would come out to my father. It was my biggest fear, and I had to conquer it. I'd met a beautiful man in DC. His name is Zach. And I fell in love for the first time. And he taught me to love myself. He challenged me. He taught me to celebrate our love, and he encouraged me to do it. And so I told my father to meet me at the cafeteria, at the food court of a mall in Caracas. And looking back, in hindsight, I probably felt like I needed to have people around us in case it went south. And here it was. I was ready to tell him. And one big inspiration had been Zach's family. I remember coming to meet Zach's family and me being greeted by his dad and getting a huge kiss and getting a huge hug and being told I love you by people I barely even knew. His family became my family. And so I said it. I knew I couldn't use the words I am gay. I wasn't ready to utter those words to my father. But I told him, tengo novio. I have a boyfriend. And my dad, who is extremely dark, went pale and speechless. And then he goes, you need to leave. I don't want to see you. You disgust me. And then I left. And I told myself before going out to meet him that his words wouldn't hurt me. I'd been estranged by him from him for many years. He didn't have the power to make me feel bad, but I was wrong. I wasn't prepared for the call that I would get later on, in which he said, I want to kill you for being gay. I want to kill your mother for making you gay. And I want to kill myself for having a gay son. And then I went in a downward spiral, one in which only a magician like my mother could take me out of. Through her words, through her touch, through her presence. It's been a long journey since those days. And those of you that know me know that I'm an optimistic, I'm a happy guy, I'm a glass half full kind of guy. But this moment, that memory, it's still very raw, very sensitive, very touching, and very, very moving for me. It's unresolved. And while I gather the courage to perhaps forgive him at some point, where I gather the courage to process everything that is still going on, I've managed to learn how to love myself, and to love others. I fallen in love a couple more times after that with 3 beautiful men, Zach, Joel, and Trevor, who's here tonight. And though our romantic relationship has ended, you keep showing up for me. You keep showing me love. And I thank you for that. These men have showed me that love is love is love. These men have given me hope. And in the words of Jesse Williams, just because we're magic, it doesn't mean we're not real. Thank you. So when I was on my way to that mall that day to tell my father, I was out in the city and I saw my sister randomly. And my sister told me, don't come out to your dad out of spite or out of revenge. Come out for you. And I didn't follow her advice that day. But tonight, I'm finally coming out for me. So thank you for being here.